The animation series, Masha and the Bear, is a creation that emerged in Russia back in 2009. The narrative is rooted in a popular folk tale within the country, sharing its name, and passed down through generations. The animated series, which has been translated into 25 languages and broadcasted in over 100 countries, follows the tale of a girl named Masha and her friend, a bear, who goes to great lengths to protect her from dangers. However, the original story isn't as sweet as it may seem. Once upon a time, there lived an old man and an old woman who had a granddaughter named Masha. One day, Masha's friends decided to venture into the forest to gather mushrooms and fruits and invited her along. Seeking permission from her grandparents, Masha was granted the request to join the adventure, but with a caution to stay close to the group and not to lose sight of them. In spite of this advice, Masha unknowingly ventured too far away from her companions. While her friends enjoyed their expedition, Masha wandered off on her own, engrossed in her own enjoyment. Eventually, she realized that she was alone, and panic set in. Shouting and calling for her friends, Masha's cries went unanswered. Lost and isolated, she had no choice but to seek help or retrace her steps. As desperation loomed, Masha stumbled upon a small cabin in the forest. Driven by curiosity, she approached the cabin, knocking on the door. Receiving no response, she noticed that the door was slightly ajar and decided to enter. Seated near a window, Masha contemplated who might reside there. Little did she know, the cabin was the home of a massive, fierce bear who happened to be away at the time. At that moment, Masha must have felt relief, thinking the cabin could provide shelter. However, her relief was short-lived. When night fell, the bear returned and sensed a presence in his cabin. Following his heightened senses, the bear discovered Masha's presence and charged at her in an attempt to attack. The encounter was intense, but Masha managed to evade the bear's attacks, displaying agility and quick thinking. As the bear grew tired, Masha seized an opportunity. She engaged the bear in conversation, appealing to his desires for fruit pies, which she claimed she could bake. The prospect of daily pies swayed the bear's intent, and he spared her life. Nonetheless, this favor came at a cost. Masha became a captive, unable to return home or freely roam the forest. The bear declared, "I'll never let you go." Masha was now trapped in captivity, tormented daily. The bear demanded that she never leave his side, warning that if she did, he would capture her and consume her. In this situation, Masha plotted her escape. With the forest surrounding her and no one to ask for guidance, she brainstormed an ingenious plan. On that day, when the bear returned from the forest, Masha said to him, "Yes, please, let me spend a day in my village. I want to take some delicious pies to my grandma and my grandpa." The bear replied, "No, that won't help. You'll get lost in the forest and might get into trouble. But if you give me what you want to give your grandma and grandpa, I'll take it myself." This was all Masha wanted to hear. She baked some pies, placed them on a plate, and, taking a large basket, said to the bear, "I'll put the pies in the basket, and you can take them to my grandma and grandpa. But remember, you must not open the basket on the way, and you must not eat any of the pies." "Very well, give me the basket," said the bear. He went out onto the porch to check if it was raining. While he was outside, Masha took the opportunity to get into the basket and cover herself with the pies. The bear returned, and there was Masha in the basket, hidden under the pies. The bear lifted the basket and tied it to his back, then set off. He walked through the forest along a long and winding path. Eventually, he grew tired and sat down to rest. "If I don't rest my bones, I think I'll die. I'll just sit on this tree stump and have a pie," the bear said. At that moment, Masha shouted from the basket, "I can see you. Don't rest on the tree stump, and don't touch the pies." Startled, the bear thought he was hearing things but continued on his journey. "Smart little girl," the bear thought. "She's sitting up in a tree, far away, but she sees everything I do and hears everything I say." He stood up and walked faster than before. When he reached the village, the bear searched for the house where Masha's grandparents lived. He quickly found it and impatiently knocked on the door to get their attention. "Knock, knock. Open the gate," he shouted. "I've brought something from Masha." But the village dogs smelled the bear and rushed towards him from all the yards, barking loudly. Startled again, the bear dropped the basket near the gate and ran as fast as he could, not looking back. Amidst the commotion, Masha's grandparents arrived at the gate. They saw the basket and asked, "What's in the basket?" Masha's grandfather lifted the lid, looked inside, and couldn't believe his eyes. To their pleasant surprise, there was Masha, safe and sound. Masha and her grandparents embraced each other tightly, celebrating this long-awaited reunion with warmth and joy. This is the original tale, much heavier in themes of slavery and violence than the animated version, portraying a beautiful friendship between the girl Masha and the bear. However, there's another true story that is far more sinister and macabre, and it even inspired the folklore around the character Masha. This chilling tale unfolds over 200 years ago, around 1820, in the old Tsarist Russia. Masha was an innocent little girl residing in a quaint village in the heart of the former Russian Empire. In those times, with no television, radio, or other mass communication means, people gathered to share stories for entertainment. Young Masha listened attentively to countless tales told by the adults about life in the bustling cities and the wonders brought by the circus. Bears, in particular, were among the main attractions in circuses, their mistreatment largely unaddressed due to the lack of awareness about the animals' conditions. As the stories of bears' feats in the big tops captivated her imagination, Masha's fascination grew. She yearned to witness these performances firsthand. The day finally arrived when a circus rolled into her small town, bringing the dreams within her reach. Masha's eyes lit up upon hearing the news. She pleaded with her parents until they relented, accompanying her to the circus. While her parents were engrossed in the performances, Masha seized the opportunity to venture in search of the bears. She yearned to observe them up close, touch them, and maybe even ride bicycles with them, as they appeared endearing. With eyes fixed on her goal, she inched her way through the carnival, determined to temporarily escape her parents' watchful eyes. Eventually, she stood before the bears' enclosure, but her heart sank as she realized they were confined for safety reasons. Yet, Masha was no ordinary child. Her quick thinking propelled her to action. The keys to the cage lay on a nearby table. She grabbed them without hesitation, unlocked the door, and entered the bear's domain. However, her mission to play with the bears took a terrifying turn. Instantly, one of the bears lunged at Masha, attacking her ferociously. Her screams echoed through the circus grounds, reaching the ears of horrified onlookers. Circus staff rushed to the scene, armed and ready, aiming to save the girl. But their arrival was too late. The bear's aggression had taken a gruesome toll. Masha's lifeless body bore the marks of the tragic encounter. The bears, now unleashed and uncontrollable, posed a grave threat. The circus workers made every effort to restrain them, but all attempts proved futile. Faced with no alternative, they had to resort to extreme measures. Every bear was gunned down. This chilling incident, which genuinely transpired in Russia, indirectly inspired the creation of the folkloric tale and later the emergence of the animated series that ultimately gave Masha a different and happier ending.